2025 has been the year where the stablecoin itself has leveled up completely. From being a small-time digital asset utilized to sell your crypto into as a digital dollar, it is now morphed into a massive financial weapon for governments to utilize to back their fiat currencies. Going into 2026, this is going to only accelerate even more. And the best part about this is that every single payments company in the world is starting to move on-chain, offering stablecoins now. Here we have a post from Marcel van Oost. We have payments companies with key stablecoin offerings announced in just 2025 alone. Look at this. We have Citi, Clear Junction, Corpay, dLocal, Equals Railser, Euronext, Fiserv, Flywire, Klarna, Leon Global, MasterCard, MoneyGram, OpenPaid, Payoneer, PayPal, Rapid, Remitly, Shopify, Standard Chartered, Stripe, TerraPay, Thunes, Visa, Western Union, WorldPay. I mean, guys, it is absolutely crazy to see the amount of adoption of stablecoins in just one single year alone. Like, this is how you know something happened. A shift happened. Every single fintech company, every single large, financial institution is now looking into stablecoin products. And at the same exact time, the IMF has now put a spotlight on stablecoins. They did this back in the beginning of December, but throughout 2025, they have been putting a spotlight on stablecoins the entire time. Now, obviously, they take this sort of it's like a mixed view. They say, stablecoins have the potential to reshape cross-border payments and capital flows, but they also bring new risk. It's always the same song and dance of kind of being on the fence. At some point in time, they will completely change the way that they approach stablecoins. They're going to be in full support of stablecoins. I mean, they technically are already there. They're just still kind of providing that insight into the risk side. But we know that with proper regulations, especially once the Genius Act is fully in place, because it does take about 12 to 18 months for that to get fully enacted into law, that's going to make it extremely challenging for a lot of stablecoin, issuers to operate at scale. That's why we look at the most compliant, the most regulated players. And Ripple is definitely one of them. So looking at what just got posted from Jack McDonald, this is, of course, the SVP of stablecoins at Ripple. The ROUSD monthly independent attestation for November is now live. Some recent updates. And this is what recently happened around ROUSD. It hit the 1-year anniversary, ending an incredible year as a top 5 USD stablecoin already in record time. The US OCC granted conditional approval of Ripple National Trust Bank, allowing ROUSD to operate under federal and state oversight, a new benchmark for stablecoin compliance. By the way, this very important to focus on because, like I said previously, with regulations, it's going to be very challenging for those stablecoin issuers to operate and grow without having obstacles for them to get around. That's why Ripple getting that conditional approval of the Ripple National Trust Bank, as well as having that, federal and state oversight, that's a huge, huge accomplishment. And it's going to benefit them greatly going forward. ROUSD expands to new chains via Wormhole, launching across leading layer 2s on Optimism, Base, Inc., as well as Unichain. Abu Dhabi's FSRA greenlisted ROUSD, unlocking collateral use across exchanges and prime brokerage platforms within the 80 global markets. Gemini added support for ROUSD on the XRP ledger, enabling near instant settlement and lower fees as well. And looking into the attestations, I mean, guys, you can all look into this. These are transparent reports. This is something that we don't see from Tether. We barely see it from any other stablecoin issuer in this space. We could see the full backing. We could see the reserves, and you can see this going all the way back to 2024, ever since the launch of ROUSD. It's crazy that, again, Ripple, a private-based company, is providing these full-on transparent breakdowns. And by the way, these are basically audits. You could look into this and essentially audit ROUSD. It's fully, it's wild. It's wild that we're still sitting around thinking that Tether will not get flipped by ROUSD at some point in the future. But Looking at the advisory board of ROUSD, we've gone over this many times over in the past. I still want to bring it back up because like the advisory board for ROUSD, it does not look like your typical blockchain-based stablecoin. I mean, when you have the former chair of the FDIC and founding chair of the Systemic Risk Council, as well as the former first vice president and chief operating officer at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, and then the former governor of the Reserve Bank of India, on the advisory board of a stablecoin issued out by a blockchain-based company, it's crazy to see those types of names. It's also clearly showing us that Ripple's operating at a completely different level than some of these other stablecoin issuers. But looking into stablecoins, we're still seeing massive amounts of growth across the board for stablecoins. Over $6 trillion in monthly transfer volume, up 8% in the last 30 days. Regardless of market cap here, I think that the transfer volume is something to really take a look at, especially looking at it month over month, because we're now getting very close to challenging October's monthly transfer volume. Obviously, the month of December's nearly over, but we did hit about $6 trillion. It's crazy to look at this on the yearly view, though, because looking at the yearly for 2025 compared to 2024, I mean, it's nearly double that. We hit almost $57 trillion transferred through stablecoins. Think about how wild that is. And it goes to show you, and if we go back and just look at everything here, I mean, obviously back in 2021, this is a full-on year in a bull market. 2022, obviously having a massive year for stablecoins as well. But I mean, like, these are $100 trillion at peak times. Right now, we're starting to build back to that. I would argue that with more and more adoption, with the Genius Act getting fully enacted into law within like the 12-month period, that's probably going to happen like sometime around the summer of 2026, maybe even late 2026. I think that this amount of transfer volume is probably going to surge significantly higher. But I love to look at 2023 and just kind of see how far we've come since 2023, because this is like peak bear market time where almost everyone is out of the market. And I would argue even right now in 2025, most of retail is gone. So all of this transfer volume is probably coming from institutional players as well as just remittances. But looking at ROUSD continues to grow in market cap, almost $1.4 billion now. We're still seeing XRP rising a bit. I know that everyone's going to still say like, oh, but Ethereum has all of the volume and all of the value. That, again, I've gone over that argument so many times. I'm not going to, keep talking about it. But the good thing about the XRP ledger is that we're still seeing growth across the board from, the stablecoin market cap to stablecoin transfer volume, as well as even the tokenized value here. So XRP is doing just fine. Over 50 tokenized RWAs on it. Very good to see. But when we think about stablecoins being the killer app, the reason why I bring that up is because we recently got an update from a Ripple employee. This is Eric Van Miltenberg. This is the SVP of Strategic Initiatives at Ripple. This got posted from Subjective Views. We have Eric from, Ripple, Senior Vice President of Strategic Initiatives at Ripple, said that the killer use case for blockchain is stablecoin-powered remittances. Here's why he's right. Fast and affordable access. Stablecoins like ROUSD provide 24/7 access to funds anywhere in the world with maximum speed and much lower cost compared to traditional remittances. Fixing old problems. ROUSD uses blockchain technology to solve inefficiencies in traditional cross-border money transfers, making the process quicker and more reliable. Helps unbanked people. It lowers the entry barriers for non-crypto users, especially in regions like Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, bringing millions of unbanked or underbanked people into crypto wallets, exchanges, and DeFi. Smart integration. ROUSD works within Ripple's payment system and uses XRP as a bridge for smooth liquidity when handling different currencies. Big future impact. Widespread use cases of stablecoins for remittances could turn crypto from a speculative asset into a core part of global finance, with the stablecoin market potentially growing to trillions due to real-world utility. Check it out.
I'm curious, from your time working in Ripple and in this impact space, if there's one, impact use case that really you feel has the most potential to have a huge impact at scale.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, the space evolves so quickly. It's a point in time, so I'll answer it in a point in time. I think the less bold answer is more, blockchain can reduce financial friction and increase transparency. This is being a little redundant, but that's the theme. And there's so many things about our current financial system that have friction and are opaque, right? So there's a lot of ways to point. I think right now it's being a little bit redundant with things we talked about already, but I think the stablecoin remittances, when you think about still sending money overseas, 6% fees, 7% fees, it could take days for people to settle money. And this isn't a business who has got a lot of working capital and can afford to okay, whatever. These are people who need to pay a medical bill or rent. And so I think being able to move money, leveraging stable coins or other digital assets in a matter of minutes for dramatically lower fees. We're already seeing that. But there's partners we have in Africa with folks like Chipper Cash or Yellow Card that are bringing RLUSD. I think that use case right now is probably, you even mentioned, it's a little bit of our maybe the tipping point, the killer use case for Web3, and people see that like, wow, that's blockchain. I can do that. What else can blockchain do for me? So for right now, I'd say kind of that stablecoin powered remittances would be that use case. But I'm hopeful that when you and I talk in a year or two, there's going to be so many other exciting things we can talk about, and I'll have a different answer then. So
yeah, for sure, I'll
go with that.
And yeah, stablecoins right now are the killer use case. And I think that it's because it's enabling everything else. Recently, I talked about stablecoins and tokenization, and there was a CEO from the space that said that, stablecoins are basically the lubricant for this new system. It's the oil for this new system, because what it's going to allow is this new engine to run smoothly. Stablecoins provide the liquidity source for tokenization at scale. It provides the, liquidity for institutional DeFi at scale, yield operations. I mean, this is ultimately a completely new financial system in the making where liquidity is coming from stablecoins. Stablecoins are that core liquidity. And I think that most people are overlooking that. I think that they're, completely, seeing, stablecoins in a completely different way. But no, this is the killer use case because it is the enabler of all of the other big use cases. And just like Eric is saying, in 2 years, this is probably going to change. We're probably going to see, instead of stablecoins being the killer use case, it's probably going to be tokenization or institutional DeFi or some sort of, big use case that we could be very excited about. But almost everyone is in agreement with Eric, because even, Standard Chartered said, hey, stablecoins, the first killer app. This goes all the way back to, I believe, 2024, where they put this out with, of course, Zodia Markets, which is also Zodia Custody. And we even have from Zodia Markets, stablecoins first killer app. Again, like I said, this is from November of 2024. So going all the way back over a year ago. And then on top of that, Zodia Custody is actually a part of Ripple Custody. We've talked about that in the past. But it's interesting that Ripple's RLUSD is also on the Zodia Rewards platform, which is stablecoins built for institutions. Stablecoins aren't just growing, they've already overtaken traditional rails. And with Ripple's RLUSD now officially supported under Zodia Rewards, that shift just got even more rewarding. And again, this is supporting the, overall adoption of RLUSD in core markets, and especially around institutional players. But every single one of these big platforms are telling us like, hey, guess what? Stablecoins are the killer app. And it's not just Standard Chartered or even Zodia Custody from Standard Chartered. It's also Caroline D. Pham. We recently talked about this post where she said that the killer app to modernize markets is, of course, stablecoins. Tokenized collateral and stablecoins are the killer app to modernize markets and make dollars work smarter and go further, unleashing U.S. economic growth by lowering costs. And of course, yes, Brad Garlinghouse is there right on the left. But on top of that, we did hear from, A16Z back in May of this year saying stablecoins may be crypto's first killer app because of how much volume and value is being moved through stablecoins and what they enable. And then even Binance more recently on November 13th said stablecoins are crypto's killer app and they're key to global adoption. And yeah, they are. I mean, listen, if we think about stablecoins right now, just going off of the holders, right? Looking at the holders for stablecoins, we're just hitting about almost 215 million. Looking at this chart, I mean, it's very clear since going all the way back to the beginning of, 2024, we have surged well over 100 million new users added to the stablecoin side of the market. So we're at 200 and almost 15 million. I would argue within the next 2 years that amount of holders will most likely double. And also even the monthly transfer volume will most likely double. The market cap will most likely double as well. And that's very, very bullish for these regulated and transparent stablecoins like ROUSD. I think that most people are overlooking the compliance side of the market right now at a time where legislation is becoming a reality. It's going to support projects like the XRP ledger. It's going to support companies like Ripple, and it's going to support assets like ROUSD that is catering to the institutional side of the market in a compliant and transparent way. And that's going to go a long way as well. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed